G'day everybody, welcome to the Daily Horizon View. The date today is the 10th of the 5th, 2019. We are having a look at our top fives for the ASX Exchange Traded Funds. Our spotlight today is VSO, which is the Vanguard MSCI Australian Small Companies Index ETF. So our top 5 percentage rises for the today. We saw CETF, ETPMPT, VAP, VSO, and GEAR. So if you want to see VSO, just click right through to the end and just have a look at the info on the spotlight. Well worth sticking around for. So we saw a percentage rise today of a little over 2% for CETF, which equated to $1.10, reasonable volume of 5,000 traded. For those who have forgot, CETF is a VanEck Vectors China AMC CSI 300 ETF, and that tracks the largest and most liquid stocks on the China A share market. So our top 5 percentage falls today were ESGI, IHHY, UBJ, ITW, and ETPMPD. ESGI, which is the VanEck Vectors MSCI International Sustainability Equity ETF. So that's a passive management strategy to invest directly in the international tech securities. We saw a fall in this ETF of 1.49%, which equates roughly to 33 cents on a pretty low volume of 394 shares traded. Top $5 rises, we saw ETPMPT, CETF, VAP, VSO, IHCB. We saw ETPMPT was up $2.03, which equated to $1.76%. Get my head straight. On a pretty low volume, although these physical metals ETFs don't typically have a lot of volume, of 476. So for those who have forgotten, ETPMPT is the ETF's physical platinum ETF, and that's backed by physical allocated platinum in the HSBC Bank in the United States. We had our top dollar falls today: IHVV, ETPMPD, IVV, SPY, IHHY. IHVV is the iShares S&P 500, AU hedged. So that tracks the S&P index in America. So you're going to get the 500 large cap stocks out of the States. Not a bad one to have a look at if you're after a little bit of yield. It's a smaller ETF, and that one's hedged as mentioned. Down $3.74 today, which equated to 1.04% on lowish volume of 1,700 shares traded. Top 5 number of trades we had: VAS, VTS, VGS, STW, IVV. So for those who have forgotten, VAS is the Vanguard Australia Shares Index ETF. And that one tracks the S&P ASX 300. You've got about $3.4 billion market cap for that one, so that's one of the bigger ETFs on the Australian market. We saw 172 trades, which for that ETF is around about normal. We saw probably net buying because the price was up 17 cents or 0.21%. Top 5 for volume, we saw IOZ, AAA, ETHI, QRE, STW. IOZ is the iShares Core S&P ASX 200 ETF. The ETF tracks the index performance of the 200 largest stocks listed on the ASX, and that one is float adjusted market capitalization. It's about $1.2 billion in that ETF, so market cap. Dividend roughly of 4.15%. Volume-wise, we saw 203,900 shares traded today. Not too bad, roughly, or just under double that of AAA. Looks like net buying, because we're up half a cent, sorry, 5 cents I should say, which equated to 0.19%. Nothing outstanding here, yeah, that's the way it is. Top 5 for value, we saw AAA, IVV, STW, IOZ, and VAS. AAA is the BetaShares Australia High Interest Cash ETF, and that holds deposits in accounts in Australian banks such as ANZ's CBA and NAB. Roughly $1.4 billion market cap. You get a little dividend of 2.03% roughly. Morningstar rating of neutral on that. We had net selling today, down 1 cent I should say. 0.0. So we saw a value of $6.6 million worth of shares traded today. So buys and sells totaled 6.6 million. Nothing spectacular there. So let's have a quick look at our snapshot, which is a VSO, which is Vanguard's MSCI Australia Small Cap Companies Index ETF. Investment objective for this one seeks to track the returns of the MSCI Australia Shares Small Cap Index before all the fees and all the blah 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 hoopla. Quick overview. So the ETF provides low cost, broadly diversified exposure to small companies listed on the ASX. The sector in which the ETF invests include industrials, materials, and consumer discretionary. The ETF offers potential long-term capital growth, which can be typical of the small company market sector. So we had a net asset value of $57.28, closed out at $57.28. Reasonable management cost here of 0.31%. You get a dividend semi-annually, January and July, I'm pretty sure. Dividend yield is not spectacular, but you wouldn't expect that from the small end anyway. Dividend yield of 2.41%. So within the ATS portfolio, there are sector concentrations, particularly in cyclical sectors. So materials, industrials, and consumer discretionary all have significant levels of representation within the ETF portfolio. Typically the ETF holds about 165 companies. The largest company holding is just over 2%, which creates a good level of portfolio diversification, because I think they're weighted, so they're all sort of average around the 2% mark. VSO could be appropriate for an investor interested in the small cap companies but doesn't have time to complete research or pay attention to the additional fees for an unlisted actively managed fund. Yeah, so it's a good way to wet your toe on this one, but it's not one that I would particularly be rushing into. I prefer to go and do some work on smaller companies in this one anyway, but have a look at the top 10 when I click through in a minute. We can have a look at some more companies and get an idea of possibly some companies for you guys to go and research. Also have a look at SSO or ISO as potential alternatives. So as we, as part of the research before we buy anything, whether it's an ETF or shares in an individual company, we always make sure we go out and do our additional research. So there's some things. So, this, look at the top 10 or 15, whatever it is, there possibly some ideas to go and actually have a little closer look at as potential investments. One of these things when I look at these ETFs is look at the top 10 holdings, because that's going to dictate what your overall returns will be. So you need to understand a little bit about the top percentage of the holdings, the ETF, depending on how it's weighted. The top 10 there's got some good companies in it, so it's definitely worth having a closer look at those. That's my my little 2 cents worth there on that one. So you're looking at 5.28% return since inception anyway. So there's a bit of growth there, not a great deal, but you still get a little bit of growth out of that. So as always, we're not recommending any particular product here. This is pure information, and it's the way for you guys to become comfortable with the lingo. Crack the Sky, and we are financial education, giving you guys just a quick overview. So if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Greatly appreciate any comments as well. I love hearing people's feedback. Research, information, and then we can go out and actually start making some good financial decisions for ourselves. Thanks, guys. Ciao.